G'day folks, this is Shane. We're at GuitCon 2018 and I got two of my favourite YouTube guitar players sitting right next to me. What? You know Dr. Rick over here from Australia, and Andy.
How's it going? Mate. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
No worries. Thanks for doing this. This is awesome. You're one of the guys I was really looking forward to meeting because, as I mentioned just off camera earlier, you really inspired me to make my videos the best I could.
Oh,
and
thank you.
Without quite having that golden voice, as I mentioned earlier. So it's great. It's great.
It won't be golden by the end of the week. That's for sure.
Yeah. One thing I have noticed here, though, it's not too loud.
Yeah.
Thankfully.
It's not like my NAMM experience earlier this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, and especially we got some proper gear here. I mean, man, these folks really helped, make this a nice environment for doing little pieces in the corners and the studios, and so.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, this is a really great event. First time for me in Germany as well as for you guys.
Yeah, mine too.
Yeah. So the reason I thought we'd do a bit of this as well is to kind of pick your brain a little bit, as well as Rick's, because I know he's got a big old brain on him. So for those who don't know Dr. Rick, yeah, he's not an honorary doctor. He's a smart man. But one thing I've noticed with the stuff you do is you're very much like Rick. You can just pull out songs time and time again and not have the small bag of licks and tricks and songs that I tend to play over and over. So I did ask you off camera earlier, do you have like a sort of photographic memory when it comes to sort of music?
I kind of call it, it's definitely not photographic memory caliber, but I kind of call it like a file cabinet, you know, and I've always been listening to every kind of music growing up, and if I hear a pedal or an amp that kind of reminds me of something, that'll just kind of trigger that file. But I it's like it at least notifies me of the song, but then I have to go back and watch somebody play it just to kind of refresh my memory. It's not like I could just, like I don't never remember the key, or there's certain changes that I'll never remember for certain songs. I'll just have to, like, I was just playing something the other day, and I was just completely in the wrong key, but I didn't even realize it. It's just like music's funny that way. In your head, you'll hear it in a certain way.
No, exactly. I tend to transpose a lot of classic blues songs into C#.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I never hear the end of that, so don't worry about it. It's totally fine. Rick knows all about that.
Yeah, I served a lot of years in Shane's band, and it scarred me, but I've risen above it. But I guess it's a misspent youth, isn't it, of just years and years of listening to stuff. It almost gets in by osmosis, just diffuses in, and you can hear a song and you can hear the intervals and you know where they are. And it's even if it's the right key. It's
as long as you get the intervals. Yeah,
that's right. So, probably more time spent concentrating in school and less on music might have done me better. But anyway, well, you're all right.
No, you're doing all right, mate. And I mean, you can. I remember you talking about this at one point. You can kind of visualize a lot of things just by hearing songs on the radio as well, or wherever.
You just hear intervals, don't you? Really, that's what I hear. So,
what do you mean by that? Like, what do you hear?
Oh, so it might go, if it's in G, and then it might go to B the third or whatever, and it just you just hear it from there. So it's one of those weird things. Once you've sort of heard it, it's harder to not know it than know it. It's just weird.
Absolutely.
I play this acoustic gig every fortnight where we play 40 songs, and the singer's got an iPad with the lyrics and whatnot, and I just play them, and people say, how do you know 40 songs? But once you've played them, once they're in your DNA, you can't get them out.
Yeah, it's a pattern, so once you just learn the pattern,
absolutely.
Do you find learning something that you've never approached relatively easy these days, or do you only really sort of focus in on the stuff that you enjoy?
I think it's a bit of both. I like to always challenge myself, so I try to push the envelope a little bit, and especially like we were just talking, it's like we're not big metal heads, but I like to kind of go in that area every once in a while just to satisfy. I mean, if it's a heavy distortion pedal, I kind of feel like I owe it to the pedal to work out something. So like, I think over the years I've gotten quicker at learning, which is a great skill that everyone should kind of pick up on. I think it's like I'm definitely a visual learner, and which was great about YouTube, because you could just you find 15 covers of the song.
That's how I learned to play Little Wing. Was off
Yeah,
YouTube.
yeah. It's just great. And then and then also learning by ear. They kind of go hand in hand, you know. But
I think one of the things I've done, I played a lot of blues for a long time, and not a lot of other things. So I realized sort of how it's great for just picking licks you want to learn. Like I can visualize that. So I'd assume it's like the next level, but for learning songs, you can kind of just do you can pick them that way as well. You've probably been asked this a million times, but you don't use a pick at all, do you?
no, I don't.
Yeah. Do you get like the callus thing going on?
No, it's funny, and I finally just put out a video, because I've just been asked that for like 10 years.
Yeah, sorry. We can edit it out if you like.
No.
I kidding.
I just, I feel like it's probably a good time to start, you know, telling people, because before with like Pro Guitar Shop, I didn't make it a real personal channel. It was just more of like a library, for a resource, you know. But I feel like now just kind of things are just kind of changing, and I felt like, all right, people, you know, especially after NAMM, people kind of are interested in what I do personally and things like that. So I'm like, all right, I guess there's people that care about that. So yeah, I finally went in depth and got the close up of how I use my thumbnail and finger, and so I put that on my own channel, Andy Demos. And so yeah, I even with Dan and Mick, I was in London yesterday or last week doing the pedal show, and Dan was like so shocked. I would have thought he wouldn't have been that blown away by it, but he was sitting right next to me, and he's just like, you know, he's just like, how do you do that? You know.
Now, is that something that you sort of saw someone else do, and you went, you know what, I want to try and replicate it that particular way, or was it just the way that worked for you?
It was just like what felt natural. I really thought that I started with lessons, and he wanted me to use a pick, and it immediately just felt wrong. And I could also learn quicker without it, you know, just because just the way I like to play with, you know, like, you know, chords and arpeggios. It's just cool. Quicker, you know. You grab the strings instead of, you know, trying to dive in and get each one.
Rick's got a really beautiful percussive sort of finger picking style on acoustic as well. It adds a whole different dimension to, you know, just typical kind of pick.
Sure, yeah.
It definitely has a really good sound.
It's good until you break a nail, then it's.
Yeah, I found I don't know, it just worked out that I always keep my nails really short, just because I think it's a habit of, like, as a kid, always biting my nails, you know. This one I've learned to kind of be a little bit more, just be nice, you know, and don't touch the thumb, you know, because that's like the golden pick right there.
So Rick and I have been making videos. Well, I started like around not professionally or whatever. I started making videos a long time ago.
Okay.
And Rick came in about 4 years after that, so around 2009 or 10 or somewhere around there, probably.
Yeah.
And he was kind of shocked and amused by the comments section. Do you read your comments? Because some of the comments that are left for you are just hilarious, man. There's a lot of love for your
I'm lucky. The fans are awesome,
Yeah.
And especially some of these people that have been following since the beginning of the Pro Guitar Shop years, and that's the great thing, is that you get this following of people that are just really into the gear, and but then you get this sort of weird YouTube fame, which is kind of strange. You know, just and you just kind of, I don't know, I don't let it go to my head, because, you know, I'm just trying to help people figure out what to do with the gear that they're buying, and hopefully help them figure out a song or two.
But you'd be recognised walking down the street, wouldn't you?
Maybe certain circles, you know, like, I mean,
it's a guitar shop. Circles.
Yeah, exactly, those kind of things. But
I
mean, a couple times at the shop, you know, like you're buying groceries or something like that, but nothing crazy, you know. But the comments, I mean, and even the negative ones are kind of funny, because especially going back to the pick.
If you want to see those, just come to my channel.
Yeah. He's got more trolls than anyone.
No, they're pretty awesome on the most part. I like it as well.
Even, I mean, it's all about how you react to them too, because I love how Reverb responds to a lot of them. You know, because it's mainly the people I think are just a little bit misinformed, and so and it's so easy just to lash out. And then if you come back with kindness or a little humor, chances are they'll come back and be, oh, sorry, you know, or oh, you know, I didn't mean to say it that way. You know, I mean, it's just easy to forget that we're all just human, and
exactly.
It's like you wouldn't come up to someone immediately and start like just cussing at them or something.
Yeah.
So.
I think it's something to be said for putting yourself out there, because as soon as
Yeah.
you do, you open yourself up to everybody who knows better. A lot of the time too. There's a lot of that mentality with any niche.
Yeah.
Whether I make tech videos as well now. I started doing that. Same sort of thing. You get that feedback from people who have been doing it for a long time, and you can learn a lot that way too. But it's an interesting. The comment section always makes me laugh. I remember one comment I saw on your channel on the Pro Guitar Shop one. There was something like I might get it wrong, but it was something like I've just had a child. I've called it Andy. She'll love that name, or something like that. Yeah, it's just like there was all these like responses. It was a huge thread. I didn't probably get it correct, but it was along those lines. Like it was hilarious. There's a time there where the comments were just you go there just for the comments sometimes too. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There's certain gear demos that you know that the comments are going to be a fun time to read. So.
Yeah, we were talking before. My wife used to come into the study where I had my computer and see Andy on all the time and say, "Who's this Andy guy?
Yeah.
You love him. Why don't you marry him?"
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
And I said, "I think he's already married," and he is.
Yeah.
But and Andy was saying, lots of guys come up and say, their wives are saying, "Who's this guy? He's this third person in our relationship. What's going on?"
Just hear him in the background. Isn't it mind blowing? Like how many people it reaches? You know,
it is.
It doesn't. You don't realise until you're at maybe a guitar show or something, when people are like, "Hey, they might stop you and say, 'Love your videos' or whatever." And it's like, oh yeah, wow, it actually reaches people. It's
and
crazy.
then the biggest one now for me is like, I grew up watching your videos. Like, wow, am I that old? But it has been 10 years.
Yeah.
So, that really hits you hard. You know, when you realize that you're becoming part of people's lives, especially I don't know how many videos you guys are putting out a week, but
3 or 4.
Same here. It's like 2 or 3, and that becomes a part of somebody's routine.
Absolutely. And it's funny, I've got subscribers I've had since the very early time that have sort of seen it evolve, and they notice every little change, as well. It's cool. Like, it's good having that longevity on there, and you do have to adapt, I think, as well. Like, there's what I've noticed, and this might not be on all channels, but there's definitely things that are more like conversation or topics that are generally more popular sometimes than just straight up gear videos. It depends on what you do as a focus, but I found there seems to be a slight sort of shift towards different things on YouTube where I've had to go, maybe I'll have to try something a little different. And that brings me to my point, like you were starting your own personal YouTube channel, I heard.
Right.
So are you going to try maybe different stuff on that?
Yeah, I think I think we're all starting to realize that there's a lot of people doing what we started in 2008 and 7, and we got to branch out. A lot of the stuff I've been enjoying with Reverb, also as opposed to, or not, in addition to my channel too, is not so much the regular demo format. It's or gathering a bunch of pedals and doing sort of like, these all do something cool. Let's see what their strengths are. A little more editorial style.
Cool.
And then with my channel, I just my dad's been making guitars for me since I was 14, 15, and
nice.
That's a side I really wanted to show, and so that's a big part of why I started the Andy demos, because it's not something you can buy, so like it doesn't really make a lot of sense to put it on a Reverb channel, but it is informative, So I mean, if
we're happy to, we'll share your channel out, and if we get a link, we'll post it in the description. So
great, thank you.
Watch how fast this channel grows. So let's go through some gear. Like Rick, we'll start with you. Favorite current amp, guitar, pedal. Pick one of each.
Okay. So my favourite amp at the moment is a Milkman Creamer, which is made in San Francisco by a guy called Tim Marcus, one at a time. So it's like a Fender amp made with a bit of extra love.
Right.
So I think it's got a Princeton front end and a Tweed power end. So it's a little bit different. It's a 12-inch speaker and runs 6 V6s in the power stage. Favourite guitar? What guitar have you seen me playing ever since I bought it all the time?
The Strat, which I'm shocked. He's the king of the Telecaster.
Oh,
this guy.
Yeah.
He's got. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
5 Telecasters, I think, and but I just and I've had Strats on and off over the years, but probably for the last 20 I've just played tellies. But I got into a Strat relatively recently and I'm falling back in love with it. So,
nice.
Yeah, I just think Strats, you just have to play a few of them to find your voice on it, I think. So I love that. But the other thing I got a couple of years ago was a Paul Reed Smith, which I always thought was great if you played Santana or Nickelback, but that's just me being ignorant. But I bought a custom 22 and I love it. It works well. It just good tones, stays in tune, does everything. It's a bit too pretty for mine. I put a ding in it the other day and I did cry a little bit, just quietly. But and there's that. And
yet he buys Roadborne Telecasters.
Right.
So that's it.
Because they sound better, folks. You heard it from me. And pedal.
Any pedal.
Yeah. Well, the pedal that I've used exclusively for the last 12 months is actually one made by a friend of mine. That's a dual stage overdrive called the Over Unity. And I've bought it here, and we'll probably do some videos this week, and I'll be really interested to hear you through it as well.
Oh, cool, yeah.
Yeah, so he's a quantum physicist by day, but at night he's a mad scientist. And,
nice.
It just makes me wonder, have you used any overdrive pedals in the last 20 minutes? No.
Andy does ring modulators and all that sort of weird thing.
Here's a good question. Actually, we'll come to that in a minute, your setup. But what does a ring modulator do?
It involves some kind of carrier frequency. I don't know, I'm probably the wrong person to ask, but basically, if you want to play Devo, that's basically what you get, you know.
Yeah.
Or the earliest, I think the one that always pops into mind is the solo from Black Sabbath. Is that Paranoid? I think it is. Yeah. It's like you just hear this weird sort of these weird overtones that aren't quite in tune.
Oh, all right. So it's a modulation thing.
You can actually get it. It's modulation, because if you get one of those phasers that go like light speed, like really quick, it's instant ring mod. So they all kind of share, share the
Sorry
same.
for the derailment there, but I thought I'd ask you because I don't. For what I do, I just can't make them work. What's your go-to guitar? What would you just pick up if you're at home and you went?
Oh, it's always been like some kind of Les Paul style. I mean, recently I just. It was amazing. I got to go because I'm in Portland, Oregon, and every once in a while I get to go to Chicago and with Reverb, and just across the street is Chicago Music Exchange.
Wow. Oh, well.
So they're like, "Do you want to?" Because I always had a Les Paul in the PGS videos. It was very modest, 2008 traditional. And of course, we upgraded the pickups a few times, but nothing custom shop or anything. It was just a really good kind of, just a workhorse. But they have these line of custom CME Les Pauls, and I got one on loan. It's definitely not mine. I would buy it.
That's how it starts.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like one of the lightest Les Pauls. That was the big difference for me. Is other than a really great neck and a great, just fret job and everything, it was like a full pound lighter than the old Les Paul I've been using. So the old one I think was 9.5 pounds.
Wow.
This one was a full pound lighter, and it's just like, wow.
Is it chambered?
It's not chambered.
Wow.
And their whole thing is they select, hand selected mahogany and tops and everything. So I think they just selected a nice light one.
Yeah.
So that's been my kind of go-to. But before that, like I was saying, my dad always built some kind of Les Paul variants, whether it's a gold top that has mini humbuckers in it, or just have like a 59 style sunburst,
with a through neck and everything.
Yeah. It's that's been sort of my. I don't know. I've always been sort of on the Gibson side of things, but I do really have a real interesting love for tellies, which is kind of. I mean, they're kind of similar to pickup. You get the middle position's always a cool sound on both of those guitars. So I guess So get into the other favorites. The amps have. It's funny because I always use a Fender deluxe reverb for all the demos. That's really just to kind of give a nice clean bass line. Everyone knows what that sounds like, but it's funny because personally I'm sort of on the other side with Marshalls.
I'm converted lately as well.
Right. It's just you don't have to worry about overdrive pedals as much.
That's right.
Because there are a lot of overdrives and it's really kind of overwhelming sometimes. With the Marshall, you turn it up to like 4, and hopefully you got some kind of attenuator.
No, you don't need that when we play. Don't worry about that.
Well, then, go up even higher, and then you get awesome overdrive, and it just cleans up. There's no diode clipping, and so in my Marshall, at least, it's a 72 super lead.
Oh wow,
100 watt, and it's basically
Wow. Okay, so you force it.
Well, you get just more headroom is what I kind of realized later, is that 50 and 100, it's not so much loudness, it's headroom and clarity.
Yeah.
So I mean, I even found a 69 Marshall Major, which is 200 watts.
Yeah.
And it's super clean. I was expecting it to be like a Doom rig, but it's not. It's not a Sun. You know, a lot of that is preamp distortion.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's just super clean. I know that like John Mayer used the Major for his clean side. I think even Stevie Ray used a Major in the studio.
That's right. Yeah.
And then a pedal. Lately, I've been kind of going back to the sort of diode clipping I mentioned. There's this Benson. You know, they make amps in Portland.
Yeah.
They came out with that preamp of the Chimera. In a pedal format. They just called the Benson preamp.
Yeah.
Really kind of unassuming. You just got their logo and this gray pedal, and
Just got a couple of knobs.
it's just it's 4,
four.
two for the EQ and then volume and gain.
Yeah.
And the thing I find that I really like about it is it's just there's no clipping on there. It's just you could push your amp and make it a clean boost, or you could kind of crank it up and almost get like a saturated tweed sound, you know.
Yeah, wow.
So that's a kind of a cool thing that I've been getting into, is like how diodes really do affect your compression and with me the touch sensitivity and stuff. So it's just amazing that you can still learn things at this age, and
Absolutely.
and maybe I should look into some other things in this area.
Well, like I mentioned before, I was a Fender guy for years, just Fender amps and pedals. That was my platform. But I played a DSL 40 about probably 6 months ago, 8 months ago, and I've loved just being able to plug in and play. That mixed with I got a 52 reissue Telecaster with those Joe Bard and Danny
nice.
pickups.
Yeah.
And that would probably be my favorite combination of stuff right now. And with that, all I use is a delay pedal. This Chicalis Audio Works Chile. It's like an analog delay sort of thing. I put in the effects loop, I can turn it on and off, and it's just easy. I love that freedom of just setup's nice and quick.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I've kind of gone back to where I started, I guess, playing live, where it was all about simplicity and then all about pedals, and then Rick and I sort of coming back to just being able to plug into something with minimal things on the floor, and it's really liberating.
It is,
really
but it's kind of a cool journey, though. I mean, even if you circle back and come to the beginning, it's at least you know what's out there, and you know like what the possibilities are. But there's nothing wrong in just going back to basics for sure.
No,
that's
and
nice.
it's a mood-driven thing too. I think for a lot of players, like sometimes you just want a clon and a tube screamer in front of something. And it's great. It gives you a different inspiration or tone. So
Absolutely.
I'm always switching between the Marshall and the Fender, but I'm just loving the freedom of the Marshall at the moment. It's for a guy like me, I never thought I'd own a Marshall, so I'm like loving it. And this guy got to crank up a JTM 45 on 10.
Yeah,
that's a sound. That's.
You want to see some faces? I'll link this guy up in the cards. You can check out those videos.
That's one thing. Andy needs to work on his guitar faces. He's a bit too cool. He really needs to look like he's constipated.
I think I've got more guitar face when I have a wah plugged in. Actually, that's wah face. That's a whole different thing.
It's terrible. Isn't it? It's completely subconscious.
Rick's metronome. People tap their foot. It's Rick's chin.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
It's awful. I've got used to it now. My kids just can't watch it. They just say, "Oh, Dad, get that off the internet." But
it's fun. I'm sorry.
Guitar playing comes from inside, doesn't it? It's not this mechanical thing of I just do this and this and this. It's you feel it. It's part of you. So, well, that's my excuse anyway. But
and all my favourite players locally pull really bad faces. So unfortunately, I'm going along that line now as well.
I think it's kind of. I don't know if you said it's about from the inside. You're right. And I don't know if it comes with age too. It's like maybe you feel stuff more, or you've been through different life experiences. But I feel like I'm reacting more just with expressing myself. You could see it more. I think, even though it's not maybe as drastic as other people. But I find that like You know, I think when I was younger, I thought those people were kind of putting on a face. So maybe I was like, oh, let's just kind of keep it stoic or something.
Two guys I love watching that are completely different guitar faces. There's all this footage of Knopfler playing with Clapton that's gone online recently on YouTube.
Oh, really?
And Clapton, as soon as he starts the solos, you know, like pulling the Knopfler. Just blank expression and playing the tastiest stuff you've ever heard. You know, I think it can go either way and it still sounds good, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for watching, guys. This is Andy and Rick. And we'll leave links to Andy's new channel. Is it online at the moment?
Yeah.
It is. All right. I was unaware of that, so I'll leave some links in the cards and in the description. So thanks so much, mate.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure being here.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Good to meet you, mate.
All right.
And we'll catch you soon.
Cheers.
See ya.